Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is Professor Anime, and welcome back to yet again another video. Today I am bringing you my episode review of Boruto, Naruto Next Generations, episode 42. So without further ado, let us jump into it. So with this episode of Boruto, this was kind of like a fillerish episode, it did feel like, but this was to be expected, as I said before in my last review of Boruto, you know, with the conclusion that we got in last week's episode of the mini arc with, you know, Boruto, Sarada, and Mitsuki's very first mission. Most likely we could expect, at least for a few episodes, of, you know, kind of like a breather of sorts, you know, because of just, you know, of the turn of events that happened in the last episode. So most likely we would have gotten, you know, something a little bit more chill in this week's episode, and possibly might even in next week's episode as well. But we will get to the ending of this episode in a bit. But what we see in the beginning of this episode is Boruto, Sarada, and Mitsuki going on, you know, a mission into which they are rescuing a cat from escaping from its owner. You know, so we get little missions like that here and there for the students, or the upcoming ninja in this case, to get acquainted with teamwork as well as learning how to help out individuals, and just, you know, basically they have to start out somewhere before they eventually rise to the ranks of much more higher and difficult missions over time. So that is why they were doing that in the beginning of this mission. But, you know, obviously Boruto wanted something more challenging. Later in this episode we see that, you know, they eventually get themselves into a bank robber sort of situation, but it's not exactly what Boruto expected, or maybe even, you know, what Sarada and Mitsuki expected. I mean, it was mainly just a Boruto focused episode. Boruto was mainly the one to do things in this episode, but again, as I said before, this wasn't a mission that he expected at all. What he expected in this bank robber sort of situation was that, you know, people were being held up in a bank and he had to go rescue these individuals from the bank robber, from, you know, possibly putting someone's life in danger. In this case, though, it's more so that Boruto had to save the bank robber. Everyone pretty much evacuated the bank, but this wasn't a hostage situation whatsoever. Everyone evacuated, and it was up to Boruto to actually save the individual who was about to blow himself up, who went into the bank firsthand, who, you know, was laying down these threats that he had a bomb. So yeah, the mission becomes more of a rescue the bank robber sort of situation, you know, and Boruto eventually does save him. We eventually get to learn more about the bank robber as to why he was doing this in the first place, you know, just due to various circumstances that happened in his, you know, job that basically, you know, long story short, he essentially got fucked over in the ass, essentially, into which all these accusations were being thrown at him, and he was put underneath the bus, even though what happened within the business wasn't his fault. But because of this ended up eventually leading him to how, you know, he felt about himself, not really feeling accepted by other individuals, and just, you know, in a very depressed state, to the point in which it led him to eventually do something like this, to put his life in danger and go in at a bank and put a, you know, bomb vest on. So yeah, but we eventually do learn that apparently this guy, you know, the business that he was at was that he was actually a video game programmer. He, you know, was creating video games and such, and he actually did come out with a video game before all of this went down, and it turns out that the game that he worked on was essentially the game that, you know, Boruto really loved playing, that he spent hours on playing. And this is where we see a little connection between the two of them. You know, they kind of reminisce with each other. So yeah, basically, long story short, Boruto ends up saving the day and negotiates with this guy to, you know, stop what he is doing and to live on and just turn himself in. You know, don't make your life, you know, worse off, you know, from here. You know, try to, you know, work things out and just, you know, live on with life necessarily. And that is what the guy eventually ends up doing. And from there, that is pretty much the end of the episode, essentially, and the end of their mission, you know. And it's kind of like a little of a, you know, wake-up call, another wake-up call, if you will, for Boruto, because, you know, he has to learn to, you know, I know he wants to get into the nitty-gritty things, we know, when it comes to his missions and what have you, but the kid has to learn that you can't really expect things to go your way. And, you know, just to go on missions that will make you receive a whole lot of glamour and recognition and acceptance by other individuals, it's not necessarily all about that. It's by actually doing things for people to, you know, help them in need. That's probably the biggest thing that Boruto doesn't understand. He probably has, you know, he probably just doesn't have, you know, the very best understanding of that. You know, he simply just wants to be recognized and accepted by other individuals, just like his father was, you know. Now, we can debate on who was more annoying on that. You can let me know in the comments down below who is more annoying, either Naruto or Boruto. But when it comes down to Boruto in general, you know, he knows he needs to help out other individuals, but at the same time, he can't really, you know, come to expect, you know, that things in missions are going to be, you know, set in stone the way he expects them to be. But yeah, from there we actually see the episode kind of ends, but before it does conclude, we actually get some information of what to expect in the next episode. Apparently someone did speak to the bank robber guy who was, you know, holding himself up in the bank. Apparently someone spoke to him before, you know, he decided to actually kill himself and do, you know, this whole, you know, stunt, so to speak, to basically make a diversion of sorts to throw, you know, things off guard for this little gang that we see in the conclusion of this episode of Boruto. Apparently there are 4 individuals, and from the preview that we see, they are known as the Byakuga. The Byakuga gang, I believe that is what they are called. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, let me know in the comments down below. It's not known as the Byakugan gang, not like from the Hyuga clan or whatnot, but they are called the Byakuga. I think that is what you know, their gang name is. If I'm wrong about this whole little gang, just let me know in the comments down below what, you know, the actual name and pronunciation of it. You can go ahead and you know, feel free to do that in the comments down below. But this gang of sorts is composed of 4 individuals from what we see at the end of this episode. We don't really know, you know, the full extent, you know, to their motives and what they're doing in the Hidden Leaf Village and what have you yet. That's, you know, most likely going to be focused on in the next episode. But from what we see in the preview, there are 4 individuals, and one of them can use a ice jutsu, and one of them also kind of has a hairstyle, and also, you know, the getup kind of is similar to Sasuke in a way. But I obviously don't think it is Sasuke. It's just probably the hairstyle that kind of just looks kind of reminiscent to Sasuke. I mean, for all we know, you know, Sasuke is still, you know, ongoing somewhere, you know, doing his own little thing. I mean, that's the whole, you know, thing regarding Sasuke now in the Boruto series. He's just simply, you know, off screen, you know, for the majority of the time. So most likely we will see a new set of villains, or I don't know if you would call them villains, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But from what I've been hearing is that this group is essentially centered around possibly Kakashi's girlfriend from the Kakashi novel, I believe. So we might be getting some novel adaptations within the anime of Boruto. I mean, we have gotten a couple of that, don't get me wrong, but this one will be centered around Kakashi and his relation to whoever it may be. So I'm kind of excited for that, if that is the case. I don't really know, you know, what's going to go on in the next episode of Boruto, but we'll just have to wait and see. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought about this episode of Boruto. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Personally, to me, it was alright. I mean, it wasn't the best thing ever. It was just kind of like a breather episode, but this was to be expected. I mean, we can't really expect to always get action, 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 action with Boruto. Okay, we're kind of used to this formula by now, right? So yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought about this episode of Boruto, and if you liked it, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. It always helps out the channel. And with that said, thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next one.